From Washington, this is VOA News. I'm David Forrest reporting. European interior ministers failed to agree on a plan to relocate thousands of migrants across the European Union. A majority of the ministers support the plan, but objections came from Eastern European nations, especially Hungary and Slovakia, to the plan's provision for binding quotas. Robert Kaliňák is the Slovakian interior minister.
Last week shown to everybody that the quotas doesn't work. If the 14,000 of migrants cross the Austrian border and only 700 ask for asylum, it means something. And they want to stay not only in Hungary or Slovakia, but also they don't want to stay in Austria.
The ministers did agree on a plan to relocate 40,000 migrants now in Greece and Italy. Earlier Monday, Hungary blocked its main crossing point along the border with Serbia with a razor wire. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban said new laws restricting immigration call for prison terms and severe punishments for human traffickers. Egyptian officials say a group of tourists was in a restricted area when security forces opened fire on Sunday. 12 people were killed, including 2 Mexican citizens, when the tourists were mistaken for a group of terrorists. 6 survivors told Mexico's ambassador to Egypt their convoy was attacked by plane and by helicopter. Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto has demanded an investigation into the shooting. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called emergency talks with his ministers Monday to discuss the surge in violence between Israelis and Palestinians. A Jewish man died early Monday when his car crashed into a ditch after it was struck by a Palestinian-thrown rock. This is VOA News. The U.S. Defense Department has confirmed reports that Russia appears to be setting up an air base in Syria. A Pentagon spokesman says the movement of Russian personnel and equipment into an area near the coastal city of Latakia suggests the establishment of an operating base. Meanwhile, Syria's ambassador to Russia, Riyad Haddad, on Monday called talk of a Russian troop presence in Syria a lie. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott has been ousted from office in a leadership challenge. Mr. Abbott was replaced as leader of the Liberal Party by his rival Malcolm Turnbull, who will become the head of government.
The Australia of the future has to be a nation that is agile, that is innovative, that is creative. We cannot be defensive. We cannot future-proof ourselves.
Turnbull's support for carbon trading, gay marriage, and an Australian republic have made him unpopular with his party's right wing. Taliban insurgents have stormed a prison in eastern Afghanistan, releasing hundreds of prisoners. A provincial governor says the well-organized attack began with a suicide car bombing that allowed other rebels to get into the prison. Afghan officials say there were a total of 436 prisoners in the complex, of which 355 escaped during the attack. A 16-year-old girl has died of Ebola in a northern district of Sierra Leone. The death has seen as a setback for Sierra Leone, which just last month celebrated the discharge of its last Ebola patient. The country had gone for 6 months without a new case of the disease. Reuters reports officials quarantined hundreds of people Monday in hopes of stemming the spread of Ebola. The governor of Japan's southern island of Okinawa says he will revoke permits for the construction of a new U.S. airbase on his island after talks broke down between his administration and officials in Tokyo. Authorities in Malaysia say they have arrested 3 people in connection with last month's bombing in Bangkok, Thailand. Billionaire Donald Trump continues to gain support in his quest to be the Republican candidate in next year's U.S. presidential election. In a new Washington Post ABC News poll released Monday, 33% of Republican voters said they would choose Trump. Former neurosurgeon Ben Carson surged to second place, rising to 20% support. California Governor Jerry Brown says his state is in a battle against the wildfires that are devastating parts of the state's north. The governor said the flames are spreading faster than what the computer models had predicted. He said climate change will only lead to more fires in the future. At least 12 large wildfires are burning in Northern California. From the VOA News Service in Washington, I'm David Forrest.
That's the latest world news from VOA.